The mop hits the floor at 05:30. Not a sound in the barracks hallway except that the wet slap of cotton against linoleum, the rhythmic push and pull of a woman who has been doing this job for 11 months, in this building, on this post, and who has never once been late. Her name badge reads Dorothy. The letters are slightly crooked, the laminate peeling at one corner, the kind of badge that gets replaced only when someone complains. Nobody has complained about Dorothy's badge. Nobody has paid enough attention to her badge to complain. She pushes the mop toward the far end of the hall, and her left leg drags just slightly with each step. Not a stumble, not a limp that asks for sympathy, but the practiced compensation of a body that learned long ago how to keep moving after something tried to stop it. The fluorescent light above her flickers once and holds. Outside the narrow window at the end of the corridor, the sky is the color of a bruise healing into yellow, and the base is just beginning to breathe. She will finish this hallway, then the latrines, then the briefing room, then she will refill the coffee urn in the officer lounge and set out the cups in the exact order she has always set them out, large at the back, small at the front, handles all turned the same direction. Nobody has ever told her to do that last part. She does it because order has a sound and she likes to listen to it. There is a room at the end of this hallway. Room 114. Behind its door, inside a gray metal locker that belongs to nobody on the current roster, sits a wooden case the size of a shoebox. Dorothy has never opened that locker. She has cleaned around it for 11 months, dusted the top of it twice, and never mentioned it to anyone. But she knows what is inside. She has always known. And on this morning, this particular Tuesday in October, when the air through the window smells faintly of burning leaves and something older, a question has been placed in motion that will force that case into the light before the day is done. She just doesn't know it yet. She keeps mopping. The recruits arrive at 0615. There are 16 of them, fresh from basic, assigned to Fort Caldwell's junior infantry training cycle. They come down the hallway in a loose pack, loud the way young men are loud when they have not yet been taught the cost of noise, boots on linoleum, voices bouncing off painted cinder block. One of them nearly walks into the wet mop, pulls back, and looks at Dorothy the way a person looks at furniture that has been placed inconveniently. She steps aside, moves the bucket, says nothing. "Watch it," says the one who almost walked into her. His name tape reads Hargrove. He's 22, maybe 23, with the particular confidence of someone who finished near the top of his class and hasn't yet met anyone who finished above him. He doesn't apologize. He just keeps walking, says something low to the recruit beside him, and the two of them laugh. Dorothy looks at the floor, keeps mopping, but the man beside her, Specialist Okafor, who sometimes passes through this corridor on early details, catches the exchange. He glances at Dorothy. She does not look up. He starts to say something and then doesn't, because there is something in the set of her shoulders that is not submission. It is a particular kind of stillness, the stillness of a person who has decided that certain battles do not need to be fought at 0615 on a Tuesday. Okafor watches her for another moment, then walks on. He will think about that stillness for the rest of the morning. The briefing room at 800 is crowded and hot. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Webb stands at the front of it. 41 years old, command presence polished to a reflective shine, the kind of officer who owns every room he enters and knows it. He has been at Fort Caldwell for 7 weeks, transferred from a posting he does not discuss in detail because the detail flatters him and he prefers to let people imagine it. He is not a dishonest man, but he is a man who has confused the performance of authority with the substance of it, and that confusion has been quietly calcifying for years. The recruits sit in rows. Webb paces. The morning light comes through the blinds in bars, laying stripes across the floor. Dorothy enters at 0812 to replace the coffee urn. She moves along the back wall, quiet, invisible. The way she always moves in rooms where she is not the subject. Webb turns mid-sentence and nearly walks into her. Do you mind? He does not say it cruelly. He says it the way someone says it when they are genuinely inconvenienced and have not yet bothered to feel anything about the person causing the inconvenience. Sorry, sir. Dorothy steps back against the wall. The urn is heavy. She can tell by the way her right arm takes the weight, the left forearm bracing underneath. Nobody in the room looks at her arm. Nobody in the room looks at her. Can that wait until after the brief? Webb turns back to his lectern. I'll just set it down here, sir. You won't know I'm here. One of the recruits, Hargrove, because of course it is Hargrove, turns in his seat just enough to see her. He makes a small sound, not quite a laugh. His neighbor grins. The cleaning lady talks back, Hargrove murmurs. The room is not silent, but Dorothy hears it. She sets the urn down on the side table, arranges the cups, large at the back, small at the front, handles all the same direction, and begins to move back toward the door. Webb, to his credit, does not laugh. But he does not correct Hargrove either. He simply continues talking, and the moment slides past, and Dorothy's hand is on the doorframe when something on the wall stops her. A photograph. Black and white, framed, slightly crooked. She has straightened it before. She straightens it now, a small automatic gesture, the way you correct a thing because you have always corrected it, and then she leaves. What she does not know, what nobody in that room knows, is that Hargrove has taken out his phone under the desk. That he is typing something. That on a group chat shared by all 16 recruits, a message appears with a photo attached. Dorothy's back, the urn, the slight drag of her left foot as she walks out the door. The caption reads, Battlefield Trauma LOL. It gets 4 laughing emojis in under a minute. Specialist Okafor is not in that chat. He is in the motor pool at 0900, cross-threading a bolt that doesn't want to cooperate when his radio crackles with a routine traffic call. He responds, sets the handset down, and picks up his phone to check the time. The chat notification is open on a shared thread he forgot he was still part of. He reads it. He stares at the photo. He thinks about the stillness in Dorothy's shoulders at 6:15, and something cold settles into the back of his throat. He knows something about Dorothy that Hargrove does not. Not much, but enough. He knows her last name. It is not on the badge. The badge says Dorothy and nothing else because when she was hired, she asked the facilities office to leave it that way, and the facilities office didn't press the point, and Okafor only knows her last name because he signed the same form she did when they both renewed their post-access cards in August. He saw it on the line above his. The name was Reyes. He sat with that for a week before he did anything with it. Then he pulled a thread. A very small thread, because he was a specialist and not a detective, and because he wasn't sure he was right. But the thread led somewhere. It led to a name attached to a unit designation, attached to a citation he found in a public DoD archive. He read the citation twice. Then he closed his laptop and went to the gym and lifted more weight than he normally lifted and didn't say anything to anyone. Now, staring at the photo in the chat, he makes a decision. He puts the phone in his pocket and goes to find Sergeant Major Dunleavy. The mess hall at 11:30 is a different kind of room. It smells of industrial coffee and something fried, and the sound of trays and conversation fills it with the specific white noise of a large number of people eating without ceremony. Dorothy is there because the floor near the service line gets sticky by mid-morning, and she comes through with the mop every day at this hour, working the edges, invisible in the way that people who do necessary things are often invisible. Webb comes in with 2 other officers, selects a tray, moves toward a table near the window. He does not see Dorothy. He sits. His voice carries, it always carries, and he is telling a story about a range exercise, something about a junior NCO who froze on a decision, And the story has the particular shape of stories people tell when they want to establish that they would not have frozen. The recruits are at two long tables near the center. Hargrove has his back to the service line, but when one of the others nudges him and tilts his head toward Dorothy, Hargrove turns around. "She does the floor in here too?" He doesn't whisper this time. "Every day, apparently." "What's her deal with the limp?" A third recruit, Rodriguez, looks uncomfortable. "Man, leave it. I'm just saying she should probably be on desk duty or something. Seems like a workers' comp situation." Dorothy stops. The mop handle is still. She has her back to their table, and for a moment, just a moment, something passes through her that the recruits cannot see and would not understand. It moves through her chest and shoulders and settles somewhere low, the way old things settle. Then she moves the mop again. But the radio on the wall near the mess hall duty desk crackles at exactly that moment. Post communications, routine traffic, a voice calling for a facilities confirmation, something about a VIP detail arriving at 1400 and needing the briefing room prepped. The duty sergeant responds. Routine. Then the voice on the radio, a different voice, older, with the flat cadence of someone who has been using radios for 30 years, says something that was not in the routine traffic script. It says, almost as an aside, almost as if confirming a detail for someone off mic. "And confirm that Viper 6 is on post. Last check-in said she's in the facility." Then static. Then silence. Rodriguez looks up from his tray. Hargrove stops mid-sentence. The duty sergeant at the desk tilts her head and reaches for the handset to clarify the call, but by the time she does, the frequency has moved on. Viper 6. The words hang in the mess hall the way words hang when they don't immediately find a context to attach to. Webb, at his table by the window, has gone very still. He knows that call sign. He knows it the way you know the name of a weather system that passed over your life and rearranged things. He knows it from a classified briefing 3 years ago, from a name spoken in a room he was barely senior enough to be in, attached to an operational record that made the men around him quiet in the particular way that men go quiet when the numbers stop being abstract. He knows it from the citation, from the theater, from the date. He turns slowly in his seat and looks across the mess hall. His eyes move past the recruits, past the service line, past the steam table. They find Dorothy. She is pushing the mop toward the far corner of the room, her left foot dragging in that practiced, compensated way, the name badge peeling at its corner. He does not move for a long moment. Then he pushes his tray back and stands. Hargrove, who has been watching Webb for cues on how to carry himself in a room, notices Webb stand, notices the direction of his gaze, looks at Dorothy, looks back at Webb. His brow creases. "Sir," one of the officers with Webb says it quietly. Webb doesn't answer him. He crosses the mess hall, 30 feet. The sound of his boots on the tile is different from his usual walk. Measured, yes, but something underneath the measure has changed, like a frequency shifting. People at nearby tables feel it before they understand it. Conversation's slow. He stops 3 feet from Dorothy. She has her back to him. She finishes the stroke she was on, pulls the mop back, turns. Their eyes meet. And Dorothy Reyes, who has been mopping floors at Fort Caldwell for 11 months, who has been invisible in every hallway and every briefing room, who said, "Sorry, sir," and stepped back against the wall, who has never once in 11 months said her name to anyone who didn't need it for a form. Dorothy Reyes holds his gaze without moving. Her face does not change. Her hands do not tremble. Her breathing is even. Webb takes one more step forward, and then, in front of every recruit, every officer, every duty sergeant and cook and tired soldier eating a Tuesday lunch, he comes to attention. Full attention. The kind that costs something. The kind that is a declaration. "I wasn't sure," he says. His voice is low, but the mess hall has gone very quiet and it carries. "Your name, on the manifest. I saw it last week and I wasn't sure. Dorothy looks at him for a moment. Something behind her eyes does not quite soften. It's too old for softening. But something shifts, the way light shifts when a cloud moves off it. Manifests don't usually include my name, she says. The access form. August. Someone pulled it through facilities coordination for the VIP detail. Webb's jaw tightens, not with anger, with the effort of a man who is accounting for himself in real time. I should have come to you then. A recruit's tray clinks against a table in the silence. Hargrove is watching. He has no category for what he is watching. His mouth is slightly open. Okafor appears in the doorway at this moment. He came in from the motor pool, still has grease on his left hand, found Sergeant Major Dunleavy, and the two of them are standing just inside the entrance to the mess hall. Dunleavy is a man who has been in the Army for 27 years. He is not the kind of man who stands in a doorway. He moves through them. He moves through this one now, and when he is 10 feet from Dorothy, he stops. And Sergeant Major Gerald Dunleavy, 27 years of service, 3 combat tours, 2 commendations for valor, comes to the same attention as Webb. Viper 6. He says it quietly. He says it the way you say the name of someone you thought you might never see standing upright again. Dorothy looks at him. Her hand releases the mop handle slightly, and for just a second, 1 second, something moves through her face that is not composure. It is older than composure. It is the thing that composure was built to protect. Sergeant Major. Her voice does not break, but it is careful in the way that voices are careful when they are carrying more than words. Dunleavy reaches into the breast pocket of his uniform. He withdraws a small item, folded in a cloth, worn dark blue cloth, the kind used for presentation. He holds it out to her. His hands are steady, which for Dunleavy requires a thing he would not name. She does not take it immediately. She looks at it. She looks at him. How long have you had that? She asks. Since last week, when the colonel told me about the manifest. He pauses. It should have found you a long time before now. The delay. That's on the system, not on you, never on you. She takes it then, both hands, the way you take something that has weight beyond its physical weight. She unwraps the cloth, and the object inside catches the fluorescent light of the mess hall. A cross. A Navy cross. The ribbon worn at the edge in a way that suggests this is not the first time it has been handled, because it is not the first one. The first one she earned is somewhere in a drawer in a house in Albuquerque, put away the same way certain truths are put away, not from shame, but from the exhaustion of explaining them. This one is a replacement. The citation attached to it is not new. The citation is from 11 years ago. It describes an event in a place that cannot be named in a room like this, involving an extraction under fire that lasted 4 hours and 14 minutes, involving a decision made by a staff sergeant named Dorothy Elena Reyes, involving the survival of 7 people because of choices she made when her left femur was already in 3 pieces. She reads none of this aloud. She doesn't have to. Dunleavy was there. Webb read the file. And in the silence that has fallen over this mess hall, even the people who have not read the file understand the shape of the thing being held. Hargrove does not laugh. He does not make a sound. He looks at the cross in Dorothy's hands, and then he looks at the floor. And the look on his face is not shame yet. It is the look that comes just before shame, when a person's understanding is rearranging itself too fast to manage. Rodriguez has set down his fork. The cook near the steam table has stopped moving entirely. Webb speaks first, and his voice is not the voice that paces briefing rooms and fills them. Staff Sergeant Reyes, I owe you a correction. Dorothy looks up at him. She is still holding the cross in both hands. You don't need to. When I walked past you this morning and told you to wait, when I did not correct a recruit who said something in my hearing that I should have shut down immediately. Webb's jaw works. That's the correction I owe you. Not for not knowing who you were, for how I treated you when I didn't. A long pause. Dorothy wraps the cross back in the cloth. She wraps it slowly, the same way she sets cups out in the morning, not because anyone is watching, but because the action deserves its own attention. I've been in rooms where I was invisible before, Colonel. Rooms where the stakes were a lot higher than this one. A pause that carries the entire weight of 4 hours and 14 minutes. I learned a long time ago that how you're treated in a room doesn't determine what you are when you leave it. The mess hall breathes. Dunleavy says nothing. But he does not drop his posture. It is Hargrove who moves next, and nothing in his training prepared him for the specific difficulty of what he does. He pushes his chair back. He stands. And with the clumsy, genuine gravity of a young man who has just understood something he cannot unlearn, he comes to attention. Not parade attention. Not the automated reflex of a recruit responding to an NCO. The kind of attention that is chosen, the kind that is an answer to a question your character just asked about itself. One by one, around the 2 long tables, the other recruits stand. Rodriguez stands. Then the recruit beside him. Then the one on the far end who hasn't said a word all morning and has been listening to everything. They stand until all 16 are standing, in a mess hall that smells of coffee and fried food and linoleum cleaner, at 11:34 on a Tuesday in October, for a woman with a peeling name badge and a mop and a left leg that drags when she walks. Dorothy looks at them. She looks at each face, the way a person looks at a room they are memorizing, knowing they will carry it somewhere private later and take it out in quiet. Then she picks up the mop. Not because she has been dismissed, because the floor still needs finishing. Because in 11 months she has never left a floor half done, and she does not intend to start now. Because there is a kind of dignity that does not wait for permission to continue, and she has lived inside that kind of dignity for so long it has become structural. She pushes the mop toward the last corner of the room. Her left foot drags. Her right arm takes the weight. The fluorescent light above her flickers once and holds. And in the silence behind her, 16 young soldiers remain standing, and 2 senior officers remain at attention, and Okafor, still in the doorway with grease on his hand, watches the woman he looked at this morning in a hallway and thinks, I knew. I knew there was something in those shoulders. Later, much later, when the day has finished and the bass has settled into the low hum of evening, Dunleavy finds Dorothy in the supply room, washing out the mop bucket, the way she washes it out every day because the bacteria will compound if you don't, because the floor tomorrow will only be as clean as the bucket today. He stands in the doorway. He does not speak immediately. You could have said something, he says finally. Any one of those mornings. To anyone. Dorothy wrings out the mop head. The water runs gray down the drain. I know. Why didn't you? She sets the mop against the wall. She turns to look at him. In the yellow light of the supply room, the lines around her eyes are visible, and her left hand rests on the shelf beside her, and she looks like what she is. A woman who has been carrying something for a very long time and has gotten very good at making it look like nothing. Because the work needed doing, she says, and because I wanted to know what this place looked like when nobody thought I was watching. A pause. And? Dorothy picks up the cloth from her pocket. The corner of the Navy cross is visible where the fold has loosened. She presses it back together. And it looked like most places. Another pause, and this one is different, softer. Except for Okafor. He looked at me like a person, the first week, before he knew anything. Dunleavy is quiet. Outside, somewhere on the base, a last formation call echoes and fades. Webb is filing a formal commendation for your post service. 11 months, exemplary. He's also... Dunleavy stops. He pulled Hargrove into his office this afternoon. I don't know what he said to him, but when Hargrove came out, He went straight to the facilities office and asked if there were any open work orders he could help with. Dorothy looks at Dunleavy for a long moment. Then something happens in her face.